There's this secret mental zone. It's like a magical place in between your ears that anyone can access where creativity flows, productivity peaks, and time disappears. In other words, a place where work feels effortless and fun at the same time. This place has a name and it's called flow. And today we're going to talk about how to enter it on demand. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, and this is the last episode of our season on creativity. If you've missed any of the episodes in the series, go check them out after watching this one. If you're new here, welcome. I make videos that are free for everyone. If you want more from me, follow for more. In our last episode on creativity, we discussed 5 ways to think outside the box. These strategies help you escape your usual patterns of thinking, but only when you have the attention span and motivation to apply them. And that's what makes flow so useful. Flow is the secret sauce that can supercharge your ability to be creative. And while it might sound mysterious and even mystical, it's actually very scientific. So much so that there are 3 keys to reliably inducing flow on demand. So let's explore these 3 keys and how you can use them to enhance your own creativity. Key number 1. Find a sweet spot of challenge. The first key to reliably entering flow is to ensure that the task you're about to do is right on the edge of your current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. You see, in order to induce flow, a task needs to meet 2 criteria. 1, it must be challenging enough to fully engage your concentration. And 2, it must have a high probability of success. These 2 criteria seem to contradict each other, but they don't. There's a Goldilocks range of difficulty that maximizes both criteria. Like Goldilocks and the 3 bears, the chair, the bed, the porridge. You want to find the middle option that's not too hard and not too easy, just right. When a task is too easy, it's boring. Your mind wanders and you lose interest. But when a task is too hard, it's frustrating. You get overwhelmed, you feel incompetent, and you give up or make careless mistakes. The sweet spot is the zone of proximal development. This is the concept popularized by Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist who studied how humans learn. He argued that learning happens when skills are just beyond the learner's current abilities. So to get into flow, you need to find an activity that's right on the edge of what you can currently do. Now, finding the sweet spot can be tricky. Let's say you want to learn the piano. A beginner should start with simple songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb. But if you're already an experienced pianist, playing the same song won't be challenging enough to induce flow. Instead, you'll need to move on to more complex pieces like those of Beethoven. What's just beyond your current level of ability, so the sweet spot of challenge changes as you grow. To get the most out of every experience, you need to continually push yourself to do things that are a little bit difficult. That's the only way to grow and make progress. Here's the thing. When you do something new, it's almost always going to be too hard at first. You're completely out of your element and you haven't developed the skills yet to do it well. But over time, as you practice and develop your skills, the thing that was once too hard becomes easier and eventually too easy. So you always want to be on the lookout for the next thing that's just beyond your current level of ability. One way to do this is to break down larger goals into smaller ones. Let's say you want to write a novel. Writing a novel is a huge goal that can seem overwhelming to many people. But if you break it down into smaller goals, like writing 500 words a day or finishing 1 chapter a week, the task seems less daunting and more achievable. Another way is to leverage technology to scale the difficulty of a task to your current level of ability. For example, Duolingo does this really well for language learning. So the first key to getting into flow is to find the sweet spot of challenge. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. Key number 2, minimize distractions. Now that you know how to find the sweet spot of challenge, the next step is to remove anything that could pull your attention away from the task at hand. To enter flow, you need to focus intently on what you're doing. And distraction is the enemy of focus. Studies have shown that even having your phone out of sight can significantly impair your ability to focus. The solution is to create a consistent environment that minimizes distractions and allows you to get in the zone without interruption. This means that you should have a dedicated workspace where you go to work on your most important tasks. And that workspace should be free of distractions. Put your phone on silent, turn off social media, and close any unnecessary tabs or windows. It also means that you should establish a routine that helps signal to your brain that it's time to focus. This could be as simple as making a cup of tea or coffee before you sit down to work, or closing the door to your office to let everyone know that you're not to be disturbed. A big part of being able to concentrate is to accept that some tasks are better suited for certain times of the day than others. If you're not a morning person, don't expect yourself to be able to focus on a cognitively demanding task right when you wake up. Instead, try to schedule important tasks for times of the day when you're most alert and focused. You may find, for example, that you're able to focus best between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., and then again between 2 and 5 p.m. with a dip in the middle of the day. Take advantage of these peaks in productivity by scheduling your most important work for these times. What works for me is to block off time in my calendar for deep work. Deep work is a concept popularized by Cal Newport, a computer science professor who argues that we should all allocate specific blocks of time during our day to focus deeply on our most important tasks. This is often easier said than done, especially in our hyper-connected world where distractions are everywhere. But it's important to make a conscious effort to protect this time and to not let anything get in the way of your deep work sessions. So the second key to getting into flow is to minimize distractions by creating a consistent environment and routine. Key number 3, prime your brain with easy tasks. If you followed the first 2 keys to get into flow, you're ready for this final one, which is to prime your brain with easy tasks. Just like how a runner will jog for a few minutes before a race to warm up their muscles, you need to prime your brain with easy tasks to get it ready to focus. How exactly does this work? Well, your brain has a limited amount of willpower and self-control, and just like a muscle, it gets tired after prolonged use. Studies have shown that willpower is essential for resisting distractions and staying focused. However, when your willpower is depleted, you become more susceptible to distractions and less likely to stay on task. The problem is that tasks requiring willpower and self-control are often the same ones that induce stress. So when you encounter a stressful situation, your willpower can quickly become depleted, leading to a vicious cycle of stress, distraction, and low productivity. But here's the solution. By starting your day with easy tasks that require little willpower, you prime your brain for success. By building momentum, you trick your brain into feeling more motivated and focused than it actually is. And once you get the ball rolling, it's easier to keep it going. Before you know it, you've entered the flow state and you're able to focus deeply on your work without even realizing it. How does this work exactly? Well, it turns out that our brains are wired to seek out rewards and avoid punishments. When we're successful at something, our brain releases a chemical messenger called dopamine. Dopamine is like a reward signal that tells us to repeat the behavior that led to that reward. On the other hand, when we fail or fall short of expectations, our brain releases another chemical messenger called cortisol. Cortisol is like an alarm signal that tells us that something is wrong and needs to be fixed. So if you want to hack your brain and get into flow more easily, you need to increase the likelihood that your brain will associate a pleasurable dopamine rush with focusing on your work. And the best way to do this is to start with easy tasks that you know you can succeed at. Once you've built up a streak of successes, your brain will start to associate focusing on your work with good feelings, and it will become easier to maintain that focus and push through more challenging tasks. In fact, this is exactly how habits are formed. They start small, but over time they become ingrained in our daily routines and require less and less willpower to maintain. So if you want to improve your ability to focus and get into flow more easily, start by priming your brain with small, easy tasks that you know you can succeed at. Build up a streak of successes, and soon enough, it will become second nature. So the third key to getting into flow is to prime your brain with easy tasks. Now that you know the 3 keys to getting into flow, I challenge you to put them into practice and see how it improves your creativity and productivity. Remember, flow is a mental zone where creativity peaks, time disappears, and tasks feel effortless. It's a place that we all have access to, but few people know how to get to consistently. By following the 3 keys we discussed today, you can train your brain to enter flow on demand and unleash your full creative potential. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.